Hello everyone and welcome back to another edition of Distance Learning with Art. So today we're going to be using found objects that are around our house. That could be things like the tops of recycling containers, here I have a coffee lid, an almond milk container. I actually have a leaf here as well that kind of fell off. I saw it in a walk. And then some ribbon. Other things you're going to need for this project are paint. I have acrylic paint here, but that's what I had at home. You can also use tempera paint. Watercolors really won't work for this one though. Markers can be substituted, but I recommend using paint if you can. Heads up about paint. Acrylic paint stains clothing. As soon as it gets on there, you are racing against the clock. You need to try to get soap and water on that as soon as possible and get it washed up. If you are using tempera paint is water-based, so that means you can wash it out. You still want to wash it quickly, but it is a lot less likely to stain, so something to know. Acrylic paint stains clothing. Tempera paint does not. So, again, I'm using acrylic paint because it's what I have at home, but many of you might have other supplies. Okay, so I have collected some things around my house. I'm going to actually be using these as stamps, so we'll be able to see kind of the outside edge of what it looks like. For this project, it's also helpful to have an extra sheet of paper. You're going to need a sheet of paper to stamp on. For me, I'm using a tan sheet of paper because that's what I have. And I have an extra piece of white paper, which I'm going to be using as kind of a holding area for when my items get painty. So I don't want to get that on my table. Okay. Oh, and the last thing you're going to need is some way to put paint on your object. You can use a paintbrush, or if you happen to have maybe the top of a cereal box or something like that, you can actually just rip off the top and use that as a way of getting paint into an area by kind of pulling it down. And then, here, I'll use this one as an example. You can kind of load the paint on it like that. This isn't the easiest way of doing it, but it is a way if you don't have a paintbrush. Okay. So now that I've pulled out this paint like this, I can actually just go ahead and stamp directly into that. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get that paint around the whole edge of my object. And then this is my extra sheet of paper. This is going to be my holding area when everything gets painty, so I'm going to put that off to the side. And then I'm going to take my final sheet of paper. I'm going to move my objects, my found objects, away from my work area and my paint off to the side and bring in my paper. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to press it down and lift it up. So now I've created a pattern of what I'm doing, or I'm creating a stamp. So again, I took the paint, I loaded it up, I tap, 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 tap. I have it now on my cap, and again, I can press it down in a different location. Again, now that this is wet and painty, I can put it on my holding area and think about what color I'm using next. If I were to use a paintbrush, I would use that paintbrush, and again, I would pull down that paint so that I have a loading area to load up my colors. Be careful because these colors will mix and become a different color. If you're using a paintbrush, you want to have some type of water cup near you and some type of paper towel to dry off your object, or dry off your paintbrush. Anyway, so here I have a different object. Again, it's still a circle. I'm going to go tap, 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 fill up my whole object if I want to use the whole object. And now I can stamp it directly down, so maybe I want a sun. Oops. Just like that. And again, put it in your holding area while you're waiting. And maybe I'm thinking to myself, you know, I'd like something with some straight edges. Well, you ripped off that piece of cardboard. You can actually take that same piece of cardboard and you can use this because it has a nice straight edge. So I'm actually going to rip this so it's a little bit smaller and easier for me to work with. And again, I'm going to load it up with some paint, and I can pull that paint down here. Pull it down just a little bit so I have an area to work with, and I'm going to tap, 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 tap. I'm trying to load it just like I would load a paintbrush. I'm trying to get all that paint that I need to use on the edge of my cardboard. And now I can use that, and I can almost draw like I were using a paintbrush. And maybe there's another one. This line would probably come down a little bit more. And then there's a seat that would come up, so I can actually just draw with that corner. It goes here. Then I have a handlebar. And maybe another handlebar. And oh, wait a second. I need to have room for all those gears. And then there's like a round thingy here. Oh, wait a second. Why would I draw a round thingy? I've got objects that are round. Woohoo! Being creative. So there's my round object. And I can connect it back. And it's okay, that's a little bit bigger than I want. We're experimenting here. So experimenting is when you try something and you don't know how it's going to end up. So this object for me is floating right now. So I know I need to make a ground line. Just like that. And maybe I want to show some mountains in the background. And I can use that by stamping. So I would love to see what it is you're working on, and I would love to see you use your found objects from around your house. Remember, anytime that you're using supplies that are not yours, or that you're going to put paint on, you need to ask permission before you use them. Also, when using paint, I recommend talk to your family and your parents or your guardians before using it. I hope you have fun, and if you have questions, let me know.